Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Vesuvius regular open meeting of council, February the 11th, 2025 at 2 p.m. in council chambers. So we need to move the regular open agenda be approved. Councillor King, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you. And the regular open minutes of January the 28th, 2025, could we have a motion to adopt those, please? Councillor Poderica, Councillor King, all in favor. And we will now move on to a public hearing. And I will call the public hearing for the official community plan amendment, bylaw number 1375.01, 2024, and the zoning amendment bylaw number 1392.02, 2024 to order at 2:01 p.m. And I will read the statement of the chair. This public hearing is convened pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act, RSBC 2015, to allow the public to make representation to council respecting matters contained in OCP Amendment Bylaw number 137502 and Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 139501. Every person present who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. None of you will be discouraged or prevented from making your views known. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to matters contained in the proposed bylaw. If you wish to speak, once it is time for public representation and are attending in person, please proceed to the microphone and commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. If you wish to speak and are attending virtually, please virtually raise your hand. If you are unsure how to do so, you can find the information on the town's website under public hearings. It will be your turn to speak once your name or phone number has been called. Your microphone will be unmuted and you may commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. Once you have finished speaking, your microphone will be muted. If they wish, members of council may ask you questions following your presentation. However, the function of council at this public hearing is to listen to you rather than to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw. In accordance with the council procedure bylaw, presentations by members of the public shall be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes each. If a person has additional information that they are unable to provide within that time frame, they shall be given further opportunity to address council after all other interested members of the public have been heard a first time. Please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion during this public hearing so that we may ensure as impartial a hearing as possible. After this public hearing is adjourned, council members will not speak to the public on this matter until after the matter has been dealt with at a public meeting. After this public hearing has concluded, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. Correspondence received. There are 2 new correspondence received and correspondence from the previous public hearing. There was 4 others, so that's a total of 6. And I will now ask Ms. Duong to give a presentation to council. Thank you, Ms. Duong.
Thank you. And I'm just waiting for the PowerPoint presentation to be put up. Okay. Thank you. So this public hearing relates to file number Z23-05. It involves 2 parcels within the town of Vesuvius, one at 6819 Cottonwood Drive and the other at 6821 Cottonwood Drive. So these 2 parcels are adjacent to each other. 6819 Cottonwood Drive is designated as medium density residential under the OCP bylaw and zone medium density residential 1. It is approximately 1,471 square meters in area. and it is currently vacant. 6821 Cottonwood Drive is currently designated as low-density residential under the OCP bylaw and is zoned small-scale multi-unit residential with a land area of 981 square meters. There's currently an existing building on the property, and both parcels are currently located within the urban containment area that is outlined within the OCP bylaw. The proposal that the applicant has put forward is to undertake a 19-unit townhouse development. Just to speak to the reason why we're having this additional public hearing. So council at their meeting on November 11th, 2024, had requested that a shadow study be provided. And this was provided to council at its meeting of January 14th, 2025. As you'll see, a shadow study was provided by the applicant, and it outlines during spring, which is what's shown right now, and fall at different times of the day, the shadows that are cast by the proposed buildings. Again, based on the design that was proposed. That being said, I do want to make it clear that the applicants are not being held to the design that they have proposed. Simply, if the amendment bylaws are to be approved by council, they would simply need to design their development in accordance with the zoning bylaw, as well as the multifamily residential development permit area guidelines that are outlined within the OCP bylaw. So the development as it is proposed would require the consolidation of the two parcels to undertake that 19-unit townhouse development, and it would only be able to take place should the rezoning be approved. As noted, the two subject properties do have mismatched OCP and zoning designations, where 6819, being the more southwesterly parcel, is currently designated and zoned for medium density residential development, whereas the other parcel at 6821 Cottonwood Drive is designated and zoned for low density residential purposes. So just a bit of a breakdown. For 6821 Cottonwood Drive, again, small-scale multi-unit residential zone, the permitted uses are generally limited to low-density residential uses, such as a duplex dwelling and a single detached dwelling. There are accessory allowances for an accessory dwelling or secondary suite. However, the maximum density that is stipulated under the zoning bylaw is 2 dwelling units. For 6819 Cottonwood Drive, which is zoned medium density residential 1, as the name suggests, it generally permits medium density residential developments in the form of apartment buildings and townhouses. So for this zone, the maximum density is 75 dwelling units per hectare. And if you were to look at the two parcels, should they hypothetically be consolidated in the future, you'd be looking at a cumulative parcel size of 2,452 square meters, which would allow for a maximum of 18 dwelling units per hectare, or sorry, for the two parcels combined. So with all this in mind, the applicant has proposed amendments to the OCP bylaw, specifically for the property at 6821 Cottonwood Drive. It is being proposed to redesignate that property under the OCP bylaw from low density residential to medium density residential. Additionally, the multifamily development residential development permit area only applies to 6821 Cottonwood Drive, or 6819 Cottonwood Drive, and it is being proposed to amend the map 15, which speaks to that development permit area, to include 6821 Cottonwood Drive. Additionally, with respect to zoning, it is being proposed to amend the zoning designation of the property or both the properties from their current designations to medium density residential 1 site specific, and the site specific provision would be to allow for 19 dwelling units on a parcel of land with an area of 2,452 square meters. So that would only allow the 19-unit townhouse development to take place if the lots are consolidated. So just in summary, if adopted as is, the proposed amendments would allow or result in both properties being designated as medium density residential under the OCP bylaw. Both parcels would be within the multifamily residential development permit area under the OCP bylaw, and both parcels would be zoned medium density residential 1 site specific under the zoning bylaw, and the site specific provision would be to allow 19 dwelling units on the parcels where they are consolidated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor King, you had a question?
Yeah, well, not really a question. I just wondered if it was open to the public. They could come forward if anybody signed up to speak at this.
We're getting to that part.
Oh, I thought.
Yeah,
that's-
don't worry. No. Now we will, if nobody had a question then, so now we're going to do the public input part. And first off, is the applicant here and would they like to speak? Is the applicant present in the room or online? Online? Go ahead, please. If you would like to speak, you have 15 minutes if you like.
Hi, this is Manika. My name is Manika. I work with Paramorph Architecture. I am an architect, AIBC, and I'm speaking on behalf of the developer. We also have another representative who will join me within the 15 minutes to speak as well. Thank you, Council, for giving us an opportunity to present. As Shannon very briefly and very aptly presented, the fact that we are proposing a multifamily development and the site is located across a well-maintained, accessible Cottonwood Park, and it provides an opportunity to provide housing at a serene, convenient location. It is under OCP, and if it is approved, then we can go ahead and propose the 19 townhouses. The townhouses that we're proposing are 18 three-bedroom units, and one unit type accommodates 2-bedroom plus den. All the units are from 1350 to 1750 square feet each. All units have 2 car parking garages, and there are a total of 4 visitor parking spots available as well. The landscape design does a great job in bringing harmony to the community by using unit pavers across the entire length of drive aisle. Colored palettes are resembling the building design. And we are quite excited about the contemporary design proposed, which uses longboard siding with wood finish in 2 complementary colors and fiber cement board siding in alternating colors of ice mist and graphite. And blue colors bring a pop of color to all of those units. All the units will also have access to private yards, balconies, and rooftop decks, along with which we've ensured that there's an outdoor amenity area proposed for kids with play structures, which is about 800 square feet in itself as well. Developer team is also available, and I'm also available if there are any questions. Thank you so much again. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Manika. I will certainly, please stay on the line because there could be some questions that are asked at the public presentation, and I will give you time at the end to respond.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'm now going to open it up to the public, and is there anyone who would like to speak to this presentation? And they will be given 5 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this? Is there anyone online? Would you let, Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Murray, would you go ahead, please?
Okay, thank you. So can you hear me well?
Yes, we can. Can you please state your address as well? Your name is on the screen.
Sure. My name is Wallace Murray, and my address is 7 Birch Court in Osoyoos, BC. And I did write a letter as well. And as you know, I wrote a letter the last public meeting or hearing that you had, and I also wrote a letter today. And essentially, the reason I wrote the letter, not as an anti-development letter, it's more about I felt that some considerations by residents and things weren't being considered, and as well as some concerns with the shadow study. So regarding, and I'll summarize the letter that I did write. There's definitely negative impacts with excessive shadowing, and there is going to be shadowing from this development, and that has an impact on not just the environment and people's gardens and things like that, and how they've set up things, being a residential neighborhood. It also will have an impact, I think, on property values, being that there's one quite big building and a huge development in a very tight residential area, which makes a very strange precedent for, I would say, for future developments. So I just wanted to bring that up with that. And two is that the shadow study was done by the developer, and also they're not beholden to design, which means that essentially you're running blind to the negative effects that may result from that. So I'm advocating getting an independent study done with that, just to ensure that it's transparent and to see what it might be like at certain times of the day and how that may affect certain things. Secondly, I brought up in the letter that a number of things were expressed by different people in the community and things like that, and a few of them was really about this zoning, that if it's being rezoned for high density, then I think it's undeniable that it's setting a precedent for future developments, which really hasn't been, I'd say, planned or fully thought through. There's already traffic and parking issues. It's a one-way. The street's already congested, especially in summer, and it goes toward a dead end. And there's just one entrance and exit. So I would suggest that a safety study or analysis is done to address this, because it's not just about now, it's about knowing what's coming. I think we all know that there's been a strain on infrastructure and services, so that's not new to anyone. And that's something that as a council, you're definitely wrestling with. And then there's the aesthetics. There's really been I don't see any town development for how the aesthetics and growth's going to go for along that area, and even the area in general. And you know that other municipalities and things wrestle with that. They think, how do you plan for development? How do you grow? Do you allow a bit of density and then you allow the community kind of organically grow? How do you do that? I don't see any plan for that. It's just let's say yes to this, and many members and community members have expressed that. So, and I know we brought up about the environmental impacts. Whether it's needed or not, I think that's just a reality in today's age, that those kind of reports or analysis is done. And I think, I also brought up that with members and different community residents and different people giving their feedback, there's definitely could be legal challenges there, that because if things are going to affect the community and they're still not beholden to a design, that means there's things coming that there could be effects and impacts we don't quite know yet. I think that brings up risk there. And I think that's another reason for council to really go slow to go fast on this. And that's it in a summary, really, of what I wanted to say. And that's my letter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murray. We do have copies of the letters that you have sent in our application here. So thank you very much.
Thank you for hearing me. Thank you. Yeah.
And I'm going to ask if is there anyone else who would like to make a public presentation? Would you please come up to the microphone?
Douglas Seabaugh, 6823 Cottonwood Drive. You
Go
folks
ahead.
have heard me up here before. I'm just kind of confused as to why we're building 19 units over there. Because we need more places for people to live? Is that the purpose of this?
It's certainly one of the purposes, for sure.
And the reason I'm asking this is because, the condos that they built over there next to McDonald's by Peanut Pond? There's units over there that the builder is now renting out because he can't sell them. And it just makes me wonder why. And he's not the only one. Not to mention the street. The street is already so busy, especially in the summertime, like I said before. I've had people in my driveway. But, you guys ain't living over there. We are. So I don't think you guys would like it if you had a building that was going to be 15 feet taller than your building, towering over you. It just looks odd. It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyhow, that's all I got to say about it.
Thank you very much for your input. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this presentation? I will ask again, for a second time, is there anyone else who would like to speak to this presentation? Is there anyone online? Mrs. Robinson? No?
No, Mayor, the applicant,
I
yeah,
will,
perfect.
can I do this 3 times first and then ask the applicant to respond?
No,
No.
the applicant should respond first.
Okay.
Thank you.
You had a question? Okay, so there's somebody named Harry on there now. Is that someone who would like to speak? Or is that the
He's
applicant?
part of the application. and
All
the
right.
Applicant.
So instead, it's not going to be Manica this time. It will be Harry that will speak. Go ahead, please, Harry. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for having us here today again, and for the gentleman that spoke as well. Glad to hear from you again as well. So I just want to quickly highlight a couple of things. One is just sort of like the overall project is aimed to increase obviously housing options in Osoyoos. The overall project cost is about $10 million for that site. We also have another property just across from City Hall as well that we're developing as well that I had mentioned previously that had received development permit. So that one is 35 units, basically 30 condos and 5 commercial units right across from City Hall as well. So our proposal for Cottonwood Drive is the 19 townhouses. Overall, I think just wanted to mention again, as Shannon had previously mentioned in the last meeting with council and mayor, that the focus is really to utilize the property as efficiently as possible. And again, there is minimal residential development property in the area. So our focus again is just to make sure that we do our part to develop new housing supply in Osoyoos that is reasonably priced. As far as like the shadow study and everything, like I understand where the gentleman is coming from, but even with the existing zoning's height, which we had discussed, I think in the very first meeting with council and mayor, the difference in the existing height and the current proposed height is only about 1.5 feet or 2 feet in difference. So even if, for example, if there was a existing structure based on the existing zoning, the shadow would still be there. The difference would be not really that different than what we're proposing at this point. The height is almost the same as what the current zoning allows for. So other than that, like our focus is really just to basically beautify that area. I know that Cottonwood Drive is a very nice, exclusive, coveted area and neighborhood. And again, as I had previously mentioned as well, our focus is to respect our neighbors as well, but also to develop this parcel and add to the neighborhood for new housing. I know that property's been vacant for quite a while as well. But this would also increase housing. It would also bring new jobs to the area as well when we develop. Plus, it'll increase the tax revenues for Osoyoos City Hall as well. And then in addition to the infrastructure and servicing, we had already looked into that. Our civil engineer had verified that the existing services there is more than sufficient to service the proposed 19 townhouses. So that part has been looked at. And then as far as environmental and everything, again, as previously mentioned, we've done all the geotechnical reports and everything's been completed. Plus, we've also dedicated extra land to that walkway in between from the back street to Cottonwood Drive. So basically, we've extended that walkway as well, which we will finish and spend the cost to do that as well. So our focus is really just to, again, contribute to the city of Osoyoos as far as housing and do our part just to add more options. I know that the gentleman had mentioned Peanut Drive Diverse Properties was developing that area as well. But this location is obviously a little bit different, so maybe the buyers will be a little bit different as well. But at the end of the day, we do have like satisfaction that we've put the best product on the table basically for this location. As far as like our neighbors, we've kept that in mind as well. But this is basically the best use of the property that we could come up with. We looked at a couple of different scenarios, And we respectfully request council and mayor to please kindly proceed with third reading so that we can develop this property as well as the Main Street property across from City Hall in summer of 2025. Our focus is really to combine those two projects together as far as construction and everything goes. So then basically these two projects combined is almost 18 to $20 million in project costs for these two. And then again, new job opportunities and new housing as well as new commercial units, which will bring in new business to the city of Osoyoos as well as, and in addition to that is also new tax revenues to the city of Osoyoos. And other than that, if Monica needs to, or if Monica, if you want to mention anything else, you're welcome to as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harry. Monica, you have nothing else to add to what Harry has said?
No, I think Harry covered quite a
Thank
bit of those points. Thank you so much for checking with me.
Thank you. So now I will ask for if there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak. And I'll ask this for the first time. Anyone wishes to speak to this? For a second time, is there anyone who wishes to speak to the application? Go ahead, please come up to the microphone.
Good afternoon. My name's Gary Palmier. I live at 8061 Gravenstein.
Yes.
I didn't come to this meeting to speak to this particular issue. I came here for a totally different reason, but one of the reasons that I think I should speak is it sounds like it's going to add to the burden of the already stressed infrastructure regarding water, sewer, stuff like that. And I'm just wondering if any of that has been addressed. That was part of one of the reasons that I came here today to speak to somebody about the water. But, you know, that's what I have to say about it.
Thank you very much. That could be answered in the report that Ms. Duong has done. And if that's part of the agenda. If you read that, probably those questions would be answered. So it's on the agenda today. You can have a look at it for sure. Is there anyone else? Did you have a question, Councillor King? So before we finish this up and I close it, you better ask it now.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want clarity. Right now, we're just deciding on the zoning bylaw. The site plan is just a concept which could be changed, which meaning if we change the zoning, developer could sell it or change it or come back for an application for a building permit, correct?
Go ahead, Ms. Duong.
Yes, that's correct. So I would say like the main focus really that council should be making is, yeah, are you okay with what is laid out in the parameters of the zone that they are proposing for this area?
So it's the official community plan amendment plus the zoning bylaw, for sure. Go ahead.
Question for Harry or Monica. What was the contingency plan if the request for the zoning change was unsuccessful?
Go ahead, Harry. Harry, would you like to answer that question? You got it?
Yes, I got it. Thank you so much for the question. So I guess the big thing I just want to mention is really when we originally purchased the property, we did our due diligence, and we also met with the previous senior planner at City Hall as well, which was Gina, and we had proposed the 19 units at that time as well, prior to removing subjects, basically, right? And we had taken our realtor, Kevin Primo, as well with us as well. And then this was supported by Gina, like right when we presented it to her, basically, right? So, and then that's when we removed our subjects and moved forward with everything. And then all the way through, like as far as like our correspondence with the planning department, it's always been very positive and everything's been well received. So we really obviously like did the due diligence and then invested and put in already a couple $1 million into this property with that in mind, right? So like our there is no other alternative as far as like if this doesn't go through, there's no backup alternative. We had really that's like kind of like what we have always done in the past as well. We do our due diligence up front and then we move forward with removing subjects and stuff like that. So but overall, again, we respectfully ask that council and mayor please consider our proposal. It is 3 stories, but then even again, one parcel is already zoned as is, so there's no changes. It's just the one parcel, and that was in the OCP, I believe, containment boundary that Shannon had mentioned already, which was exactly what Gina had mentioned as well. And she had done the calculations herself, and she was giving us 18.4 units, and then she said, yeah, you can take 19 units, basically rounded up. So that's mostly our correspondence with city has been positive for this proposal. And then as far as services and everything, the civil engineer from from Kelowna, which is ProTech Consulting, he's confirmed with city of Osoyoos that the existing services is more than enough capacity for this proposed project. So there's no upgrades required. So no issues with that either. But overall, like we feel that this is a very proper proposal and proper type of product for that location. Like the other options would be like, for example, yeah, like if you switch to condos or something, right? Then you would end up going instead of 3-story, like maybe 4-story, 5-story, which again would be a lot higher than what we're proposing. And then even with the 3-story that we're proposing, we don't have any roof pitches or anything. So that roof pitches are gone too, right? So it's just a flat, basically terrace on top of the 3 stories. So again, we've basically tried to decrease the height maximum as much as possible for this property and basically layout and form and everything, right? So, but again, just to respectfully answer the question, we, yeah, like originally had, when we purchased the property, we had subject times and then did the due diligence, went to City Hall, met with Gina like properly, and then gave the proposal and went forward from there, basically, right? So thank you so much.
Thank you. Did that?
Just a quick point of
Yes.
clarification. So Gina basically promised you that a zoning change would be guaranteed for this property because that's a council directive.
Is that correct, Harry?
Can you guys hear me? Or? Okay. So basically, she supported the proposal and that she would take it forward to council. And so, like from her view, she felt that it was like again like the right type of project for this property, and she supported it basically similar to basically what Shannon is doing, no different than what Shannon is doing basically, right? So, but not that she's like approving it or anything, but she just respectfully was saying like, yes, like I see what you're saying, I support this, and I will like more than gladly like recommend this to council and mayor to approve and move forward basically, right? So no different than what Shannon is doing. Thank you so much.
Okay with that? Go ahead.
And then thanks for answering all the questions, Harry. One last little one. You had mentioned earlier that these units will be reasonably priced. Of course, we're at very early stages, but I mean, it would be difficult for you to be beholden to that statement because reasonably priced is, it's all contextual. So by reasonably priced, what price range would you kind of see that as?
That's a good question. So again, like as you mentioned, it's a little bit early to say. Obviously, by the time we get to like building permit, and then we start doing the pre-sales and everything, then the market sort of changes too, right? But again, it also depends on our finishing and how we complete the interior design and everything, and then all those costs factor into it. So we haven't like hired an interior designer yet or anything because it's a little bit early on into the stages. But again, like it's a little bit hard to say at this point, but it wouldn't be like excessively overpriced or anything. Because end of the day, um, obviously, like as the other gentleman had mentioned as well, um, if you look at diverse properties, he had mentioned, I haven't confirmed it, but he had mentioned that some of the units were being rented out now, right? So end of the day for us as developers, we never want to see a project stall, right? Because obviously there's expenses and end of the day, we want everything sold out and just to move forward. So if we had to reduce the price based on what the market situation is, we have no issues with that. We just want to successfully complete the project and contribute to the city of Osoyoos' like new housing, basically, right? So So it could be like, for example, it could be, like it could be similar to maybe diverse properties or something. Like I know they've changed their prices quite a few times. So I think originally they were like, when the market was warmer, they were something like $1 million a unit or something. Right? Now they've come down in price. So we would sort of mimic what they're doing. But then again, this location's a little bit more, I would say, coveted, and it's right by the lake and beach. So those little premiums would obviously have a little bit extra value. But other than that, like it wouldn't be too far off from what diverse properties is doing at the end of the day. Right? Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have another question from someone in the audience. I'm sorry, sir, I didn't catch your name the first time, so please come up again.
Douglas Seaboss, 6823 Cottonwood Drive. So this gentleman, Harry, basically just said that Gina authorized this, which in my opinion would correlate with what I talked to Elena Levin when I first got the notice that this place was going to build a bunch of condos versus a duplex. She had told me this had already been approved. You know, no, I understand you're saying no, but when we had the meeting, even Manica was saying it had already been approved. When we first had the meeting back on the Zoom meeting back in March, I believe it was, she thought it was approved. Your people here at the office that was putting on the Zoom meeting said, no, it hasn't been approved yet. But it makes sense what he's saying. You know what I mean? That they got the go ahead and now he can't even tell us what they're going to pay. I mean, the average house to build is what, $250, $350 a square foot? And he can't spit out a number? I don't know. To me, it sounds like baloney.
Thank you very much. Does Harry have another option here to speak? Harry, did you have something that you wanted to answer to that, or have you said enough, do you think?
Can you guys hear my voice? Or
Yes, we can.
thank you so much. Thank you to the gentleman as well for speaking. So I think as far as cost-wise, I had mentioned just a little while ago, the overall cost for this 19-unit townhouse project, including the land and the construction, is about $10 million, right? So it's a little bit, or basically our average cost per unit with the land and construction, everything all in, is a little bit over $500,000 a unit is the cost for us to do this. So basically, anything above that, like as far as what it's going to sell for, it again, end of the day, we could say $1.5 million, we could say $1 million, right? But end of the day, it's the market that decides. So if you look at diverse properties right now, they're selling their units for about $700,000, right? So if the market is demanding $700,000, like our cost is a little over 500, then end of the day, if that's what the market is, then that's what the market is for us, right? So we wouldn't want to stall our project or sit there idly. We would respect the market and sell it based on what the market situation is at that time, right? So it could be 700, it could be 750, those types of numbers. Maybe if the market is warm, it could be $800,000, right? But end of the day, our cost to build each unit and finish it and have it ready for the end buyer is a little over 500,000 cost to finish everything and have it ready to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just want to get clarity again. We're only looking at passing a zoning bylaw. One of the properties already has the proper zoning. His potential drawing shows parking for two, which I'm excited about. But if this got rezoned, then he would come back and have to go through a process again with third reading. Technically, we could turn it down or accept the proposal.
Mr. Wong, can you answer that?
So if the rezoning were to be approved, the applicant would still be held to any development permit requirements. And in this case, it would be a multifamily development permit that would need to be issued. That does not need to return to council for a decision. However, the OCP bylaw explicitly outlines the various guidelines that the development must meet in order to be issued that development permit.
Can I ask a question that I'm not sure which one the owner of the property has said that he is also doing a development across the street from Town Hall. And has that already come to the planning department? Do we know? Do either one of you know whether it has?
Yes, that one has gone through the planning department. However, it did not require rezoning.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to, and I'm assuming that the OCP and zoning bylaw amendment application includes the infrastructure and all of the things that are necessary to for this to go ahead. That would not have been allowed if that hadn't been accepted already. Am I correct, Ms. Wong?
With respect to infrastructure, so when we do these rezoning applications, it is standard practice to send out referrals to the various internal departments, which would be commenting on things like infrastructure. So it was referred out to our consultant True to review for servicing in relation to the development as proposed. There were no concerns identified with respect to servicing at that time.
Thank you. And just for clarity, at the end of your report, it shows all of the people that have been consulted before this came forward. So that is okay. So I'm going to go back to calling for the public. If anyone for the first time would like to speak. For a second time, is there anyone who wishes to speak to the application? I'm not sure. Is that a possibility to speak a third time? Wasn't sure about that.
So every person is allowed to speak. We need to keep it to the actual zoning.
Yes.
We're not going to be focusing on anything else. So if there's any questions or like any kind of information that they want to present again, that's new, that's great. But we're not going to veer away from the zoning part of this application.
So everybody heard that. So if there's some new information that you have that you would like to speak to, we could look at it, but otherwise we're only talking about the zoning. You had something. No. Where Gina is? Gina was the planning director
No.
at this,
No.
at here, and is no longer at here. So we can't take her word for it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question of staff. What's the difference in the height between the two current zonings on the property for maximum allowance?
Sorry, I'm just pulling it up really quick. The medium density residential 1 zone would allow for a maximum building height of 15 meters, whereas the small scale multi-unit residential zone, which applies to just one of the properties, permits 11 meters.
So I'll start again. First, I'll ask the public for the first time. Is there anyone who has a different question or anything more that they wish to speak to this application? Mr. Murray, was this some new information that you have?
Oops.
Mr.
It would
Murray?
probably Yes, it would probably be more of a summation. I can go quite quick. It just, from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of discussion. This zoning change is really about contradicting an area's land use. And just based on everyone's input, I think regarding just zoning, more analysis and planning, especially in terms of where that is in the soil use and the street and just how it's going to affect the overall area. That's all I don't think it's a bad decision to avoid those consequences we still don't know. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go back to calling for the second time. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? I'll call this for the second time to proceed to or to speak to the application. And for a third time, is there anyone that wishes to speak to this application? Seeing none, I will declare that the speakers list is closed. And we will look at the next thing is that we need to, that public hearing be adjourned. We need a motion to adjourn this public hearing. Thank you. Councillor Poderica, Councillor King, all in favor? So the public hearing was adjourned at 2:47 p.m. and no new information can be received on this matter. So we will now go to Ms. Duong's report, which she talked about previously. And I don't think you want to go through the whole thing again because you did it at the beginning. So what you are recommending is that the Town of Vesuvius Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1375 and the Town of Vesuvius Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1395 be read a third time. Before we vote on that, can you tell us what this means if it's been read for a third time before it would be adopted? What would be the next step after a third time?
In the case of this particular file, the properties are located within 800 meters of a controlled access highway. So the Ministry of Transportation would need to sign off on the zoning amendment bylaw. Once they have signed off on that bylaw, the file would proceed back to council for final consideration of adoption of the amendment bylaws.
Thank you very much. So the recommended is that the OCP and the zoning amendment bylaws be read a third time. Is there anyone on council who wishes to make that a motion? Thank you. Councillor Poderica is moving that. Councillor King is seconding that. All in favor? Against? Thank you. That was okay. Thank you very much. All right. We will now go back to that was carried, and we will go back to staff reports on page 40. And that would be development variance permit application. Did we have some? No, I think we're covered with that. Okay. Is there someone who's going to speak to this one? You are. Oh, good. All right, didn't have your name on it. So go ahead, please, Mr. Garish.
Thank you. So I'm pinch hitting on this one, and I'll try my best to just give a quick overview for council's benefit and then answer any questions you may have at the end. So as indicated by the mayor, this is a development variance permit application in relation to the property at 3606 Cypress Hills Drive. It's currently zoned RS1, just over 1,000 square meters in parcel size, triangular shape, large frontage to the road. And in this particular instance, the property owner is seeking a variance to allow for a new retaining wall to be constructed with a fence on top of it that's going to exceed the permitted zoning regs of 1.8 meters, and he's seeking the variance to allow for maximum height of the two structures together of 5.8 meters in total. So I just have some pictures to give some context for this particular location within the town. So this is the subject property that's under application, and I don't know if I have a pointer on this one, but the retaining wall is going to be off to the left, down where you can see the shipping container placed beside the road. You can see that there's currently some rocks kind of performing a similar function to a retaining wall, but not quite to the extent that's being proposed with this application. This is the site plan that was submitted with the request, and you can see by the green line, essentially the location from a bird's eye view of where the retaining wall is going to be located. And this is a 3D rendering, not 3D rendering, but just a rendering of the front of the parcel showing that as the street slopes down from the driveway, it's going to go from a height of 2 meters to 4.6 at the far end. And as you can see in the middle, that's a total length of 36.5 meters in total. Also appears from the submitted drawings that the applicant's proposing a structured or contoured, not contoured, what's the word I'm looking for to describe the blocks? I guess textured would be the appropriate way to describe it. Design, this is an elevation site plan showing a different perspective on the wall, block design, backfill. Some considerations which I've just drawn from the staff report for council to consider in relation to this variance request. Granted, in looking at this particular section of Cypress Hills Road, larger oversized retaining walls in the front setback is not common. However, staff do recognize that there are occurrences elsewhere within the subdivision where it is quite easy to find these types of retaining walls. Given the curve of the road and the direction that it's going, we don't feel that an overheight retaining wall is going to adversely affect vehicle movements, which is one of the considerations when you're looking at retaining walls in a front setback. Also, the sidewalk, I believe, is on the other side of the street. Not that an overheight retaining wall per se would have an impact on that, but again, we don't see any adverse impacts to pedestrian access in this location. And in terms of impact on adjacent property owners, recognizing that the road is one frontage, the other frontage, as we understand it, is comprised of crown land, highly environmentally sensitive, unlikely to ever be developed upon. So we don't see a retaining wall adversely impacting that neighbor, quote unquote, to the south. As I was indicating, there are other examples up in this location. So these are just some random screenshots that we pulled off of Google Earth or Street View to show the extent that retaining walls exist within this particular subdivision and the various forms that they take. And granted, we recognize that these aren't in a particular section of Cypress Hills Drive, but they are found elsewhere within the development. In terms of alternative considerations in relation to this, yes, we do recognize that an overheight retaining wall could be an imposing structure and potentially uncharacteristic of the immediate parts of Cypress Hills Drive. And that there doesn't on the face of it appear to be an insurmountable physical challenge on the property that would warrant the creation of this high of a wall through retaining wall blocks. And that other options may be available to the developer, but all in all, considering the pros and cons with this one, at a staff level, we do feel that there is a merit to considering or supporting the requested variance, and so that's our recommendation before you today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garish. Council, what's your, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Worship. Through you to Mr. Garish. Is there a setback from the roadway to the start? That's just kind of hard to tell in the drawings there.
Sorry. Yeah, just waiting for the PowerPoint so I can pull the site plan back up so we can get a better look at it. I hate guessing. So because of the zoning, I believe that the setback, which Shannon's just confirming for me, is 6 meters. And with this particular proposal, I understood it only to be a height issue, not a setback issue. So I believe they're staying outside of the prescribed setbacks for the property. So it's just height, not towards the road.
Thank you.
Oh, wait.
Go ahead, Shannon. Did you have something to add?
Yes, so retaining walls and fences can be located within a setback. In this case, this particular provision, the 1.8 meter height allowance for a combined retaining wall and fence, that only applies to a retaining wall within 1.2 meters of the front parcel line setback. I'm just going to double check that number for you really quick. Yes, and that is within 1.2 meters of the parcel line.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Thank you, madam. Did I hear you correct? If this retaining wall got built, he was talking about putting a fence on top of it?
Yes.
I don't
Yep.
see any drawing of a fence, so how high would
No.
the fence be on top of the wall?
So, sorry, I don't have a pointer here, but on this particular slide, you can see the lock blocks for the retaining wall. And then you can see that there's, it's referring to as a fall protection, which I understood to be fence. So it's showing it on top of the retaining wall in this particular diagram.
Just as, the height of the fence, 1.2 meters.
Mhm.
That's for a swimming pool. Yeah. I have no problem.
That means that the height, the tallest height there is 4.6, so it would be the added fence on top to make it up to 5.8.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
my understanding. It's a combined measurement for the two, the fence and the retaining wall.
Thank you. Okay, Council, what's, yes, go ahead, please.
Thank you. With its proximity to environmentally sensitive land, are there any additional considerations that we have to be careful of, or he has to be careful of?
No, the short answer is to the extent that the town requires developers to adhere to environmental concerns in a location, there's the environmentally sensitive development permit designation in your OCP. And I believe it captures a lot of that crown land behind this particular property, but because this was a residential subdivision and the level of development that's occurred, there is no environmental values left on this particular person's property.
Thank you. So, Council, what's your wish? Go ahead,
Thank you, Worship. I move option 1.
that we approve the
Approve the variance permit.
seconded over here. Okay, just moved and seconded that we approve this. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, we will now go on to the grant application for Community Emergency Preparedness Fund.
Thank you, Your Worship. As council is aware, they passed a resolution a while ago to work as one region, and this is, I guess, one of those projects that we need to rely on one another to be successful in the event that there is a disaster. As again, council is aware, RD West has been attempting to take the lead to assist in coordinating disasters within the region, to which we've been assisting as much as we can. Here's another opportunity to, I guess, just improve that overall emergency preparedness plan, and hopefully, you know, these are things we never have to use, but unfortunately, it's not if, it's definitely when. So there is a grant opportunity that other municipalities are also looking to their councils to contribute to, and we're asking for council to approve our ability to actually request a grant of $40,000 for the town of Osoyoos that would move into that RDOS bucket that would assist all municipalities. In essence, this grant would go towards joint training exercises for our valuable volunteers on the ESS teams, recognition and recruitment of those individuals, and also supplies and technology. As people may or may not be aware, ESS are those great frontline people that assist people in need. They process applications, assist them with finding hotels stay during their times of need during disasters. So they're a very critical, important group of people that, unfortunately, when people are in need, have to go to these people and to assist them to get through what they're going through. So a very important group of people, and this funding of hopefully $200,000 to go a long ways in supporting that group, or unfortunately when they're called upon. So again, we're asking that council supports the submission of a regional grant application to the Community Emergency Preparedness Fund under the Emergency Support Services Equipment and Training stream through the Regional District RDOS, and that the RDOS is authorized to receive and manage the grant funding on behalf of the town of Osoyoos. And again, it's something that administration supports. RDOS has staff dedicated to the whole emergency preparedness, and I think this would be a great joint initiative. And again, hopefully our community never has to use this service, but unfortunately we likely will, as we saw 2 years ago. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I know we have a small ESS group in town here, and I know recently they went to Oliver to help out there. So really working together and helping each other is a good thing. Council, what would you?
I'll move option 1.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Poderica, seconding that. All in favor? Thank you very much. And now we will look at the general net payroll Sun Bowl Arena financial accounts. And as of February the 11th, 2025, general cash requirements are in the amount of $3,846,958.01. Sun Bowl cash requirements of $21,174.16. And net payroll accounts of $97,435.97. Could we have a motion, please, to okay this for information purposes? Thank you, Councillor Poderica, Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you. And next is the building report, and this would be as of January 2025. And the total amount is $355,000. Completion of a single-family dwelling, enlarging a basement bathroom, and revisions to an existing BP addition to a single-family dwelling. So that totals 355. Last year at this same time, it was 197. So we're up quite a bit. Yes, go ahead.
Development on Orlando, does he have a timeline to finish that or start it?
Yeah, this property has been the subject of a lot of
Interesting.
it's close monitoring, and we're following the process as outlined in the judge's order on this property, and therefore all the timelines and pieces are following that judge's order, and also in consultation with our legal counsel. And so, yeah, we're going to continue to monitor the situation.
Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. With the estimated values that are included with the summary building permits, how accurate are they? Because at $283,000 to complete a single family development of, well, that size, it seems, I'm not a developer, but it seems unrealistic.
Through your worship, I guess we do our best in taking information from the applicants. It's something that sometimes is maybe questionable, but we are taking information from what we receive to and working with the developer / property owner to come up with a value that we believe is in the ballpark. I think yeah, it's kind of an unfortunate process in that some things like they're done pre-construction basically, and things can change. You know, things like kitchens, that type of thing, can add a significant amount of value, and maybe that gets changed along the process. So I can appreciate your yeah.
Thank you. Okay, did we make a motion for that? Okay, so could we have a motion to accept the building permit, summary of building permit, please? Councillor King, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you. And next we have a delegation of authority, liquor and cannabis regulation branch report. That would be Ms. Duong.
Thank you. I don't have a presentation on this today, but just for a quick background, council did review this file at their last council meeting and resolved to approve first, second, and third reading. So this amendment bylaw would amend the delegation of authority bylaw to allow staff to respond to liquor license referrals from the LCRB. And specifically, the authority would be delegated from council to the chief administrative officer, as well as the director of corporate services or the director of financial services.
Thank you very much. And it was on the 28th of January this year that we went through first, second, and third reading. So today we're looking at the adoption of this. Council? Councillor Poderica is moving that. Seconder? Councillor Chong, all in favor? Anybody against? Okay, thank you. And now we will go to reports from the Committee of the Whole, and that would be from this morning's Committee of the Whole meeting. We moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Poderica, that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council approve the amended strategic priorities chart as contained in Attachment 3. And do we have to do this again, or is it, okay, so we need to have a mover and a seconder on that one, please, at the same two. Okay, thank you. All in favor of this? Thank you. And the second one was moved that the council by, and we'll see who wishes to move this, that council approve the amended strategic priorities chart as contained in Attachment 3. Thank you, Councillor Poderica. Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you. And from the Committee of the Whole, that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council approve the infrastructure strategy as contained in Attachment 2. Could we have a mover and seconder on that one, please? Councillor Poderica, Councillor King, all in favor. Thank you very much. And now we will go to the report from the CAO. Mr. Risling, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple things over the past couple weeks here is we have applied for some grants. One is there was an early application opportunity with regards to water plants that was again a new grant that came from the feds, and so we met that deadline. So that, keeping our fingers crossed on that one. And we also applied for some funding with regards to water meters, and so that one was maybe a little bit difficult, but we still applied. Other things going on is the Parks Master Plan. We're hoping either this week or next week there'll be some additional meetings with some user groups, and there'll be also an open house for the public later this month. They're a really good thing. There was an Events Alliance meeting that was hosted at the museum, and basically it's a lot of nonprofit groups getting together that are exchanging ideas that our staff participated in. So it's great to see our numerous volunteers getting together, sharing ideas, and hopefully feeding off each other to make their events even more spectacular than they currently are. TGIF Youth Nights are back and running the first Friday of each month. The first one was on February 7th, and it's a free event for youths 9 to 13 years old. So definitely take a look at that. It's a good value for your money. And there's going to be a free family skate on February 17th. So that's Family Day. So if you've got no plans yet and you want to take that event in, that's 1 to 3 p.m. at the Sun Bowl. Just reminders of a lot of one-day workshops that are offered over February and March. So if people are looking for something to do, there's still some openings in some of the workshops that are coordinated through the Sonora Center. This past weekend, the under-13 rep hockey tournament occurred. The Sun Bowl Figure Skating Club is started advertising their 50th anniversary. So just right now it's the March 13th. I know that's a pretty big event, so I just want to give people a heads up on that as well. And Adam Fiesta is scheduled March 14th to 16th. So again, that's a pretty big event. So I thought I'd just give it some airplay for people marking their calendars. From a financial service perspective, we are looking to mail out the quarterly bills, hopefully this week. And so again, it's important for people to understand that these bills will be going out, and they won't be included with the property tax bill anymore. So this is the new process that we've talked about for a year or so, and so there'll be quarterly bills, and they'll be billed out and within hopefully by the end of the week. We're going to knock on wood. And yeah, so we strongly encourage people to look at electronic options of payment, that type of thing. From the fire department's perspective, they've done some visiting of daycares in town. They do a great job of interacting with their younger folks to teach them various things like stop, drop, and roll. that type of thing. So that's, I think they really enjoy that, and as well as the kids. And just a reminder, because there is some ice on the lake, really, it isn't that thick in all areas, so please stay off the ice. As far as new businesses in town, there's 3: Hair by Carrie, Rogerson Mechanical, Relax Manual. Yeah, Relax Manual, osteopathy, osteopathy. I can say that word usually. And change in address, Barn Owl Eatery is just moved about 100 feet north or east. North, I think. Northwest. No, northeast, I think. As far as from operational services, there's a lot of pre-construction meetings, as council is made aware. There's a bunch of projects that are starting, and that's good news. We've got some projects moving, and yeah, that's positive. Other than that, that's all I have for my update.
Thank you very much, Mr. Risling. Did you have a question?
I'd like to ask some questions. Thank you,
Okay.
Madam Mayor. Just with the mail out for the sewer and water going out this week or next week, what's the timeline for the public to pay the payment?
So, thank you, Your Worship. Believe it's due the end of the month, March. We're going to attempt to get these bills out the month prior, so that's why we're mailing the go round. I think we're really going to encourage people to do that electronic automatic payment, and I know it's always difficult doing paper, and so we're really encouraging people to do that. And I know it is going to be a bit of a change, and so we're trying to get it out a bit earlier this month. Most times it'll probably go to about the 3rd or 4th week in the month prior to it actually being due.
Thank you. Okay, could we please have a motion to receive the CAO report? Thank you, Councillor King, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you. And now we will look at council reports, and Councillor Chong, did you have a report this time?
A little light, and I've been out of the country for a bit here and there. So the last council meeting I attended was on the 15th. I had really just one meeting, and it was with the local physicians recruitment group out of spearheaded by Oliver. But as the CAO's representative, we're working towards diversifying it so that it's a joint committee, but that'll take a little bit of time. But just discussing more strategies in which we can kind of make the South Okanagan more attractive for physician recruitment. There are many of our residents who don't have a family doctors, so we're just working together to pull out all the stops to try to attract more medical doctors to our area. Yeah, that's basically the only thing I had attended since the last one.
Thank you very much, and that's a good one to attend, so thank you. Councillor Poderica.
Thank you, Your Worship. Let's put the calendar here. The January 30th had the opportunity to meet our new MLA, Donegal Wilson. Special thanks to Area E Director from Regional History Kootenay Boundary, Sharon Gibbs, for helping host that with the opportunity for us, of course, to meet and discuss some of the issues that do affect our community and the area around. And that night attended the Rotary First Responder Gala. So huge thanks onto the Rotary Club, but also all the first responder agencies that are involved. Some of them have had some really tremendous growth in terms of their volunteers this past year. So it's great to see that, especially Oliver Sioux Search and Rescue. I believe they've gained almost more than doubled their manpower this past year, as well as I believe 5 or more new members just from Osoyoos alone. So that was great to see. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's just really attending the Rotary recognition of all the service groups in town, and it'd be kudos to all the volunteers out there that support all the different groups.
Thank you. And Councillor Bennett is away, so he will give a report the next time. So I've got a couple of things that I have done recently, and one is that I've been attending some meetings with the Border Mayors Alliance since the tariffs were announced, and and they're still sort of ongoing. It's been delayed for about a month. The border mayors all across Canada have been invited to some meetings just to talk about what the issues are in your area, how we should, if possible, work together, what we can do to try and calm down the concerns that people have. And so the first meeting that I was at, many of the mayors that spoke were big city mayors. And so I listened and took notes and paid attention. But at the next meeting, I did speak. There were, I think, about eight communities from BC that were on that one, many from Ontario, some from Eastern Canada, and I think one from the Prairie provinces. And I spoke about the concerns of a small town. And I explained that we were a town of 5,500, but we were in the regional district, Okanagan-Similkameen, and so our concerns were the South Okanagan. I did say that we were on Highway 97 with a very busy border crossing, and that there were many businesses in Osoyoos and in the South Okanagan that used that border crossing on a daily basis. One of the things that was recommended at the first time was to talk to the Chamber of Commerce. So I did. I talked to Denise Blaschko, and we had quite a chat about how businesses were feeling, what they thought that they could do. Was it going to affect their businesses or not? It's certainly a sort of an unknown at this point, but she did say that some businesses had already started to lose a little bit of contact already, and so that was a concern. One of the things that we were concerned about here was tourism, and as a resort municipality, and I brought that up as well, and sort of wondering whether local tourist related businesses in our town might actually do better during this tumultuous time, because our Canadian dollar was lower, and it's possible that people may decide to come up and visit our wineries and our restaurants and our distilleries, because they would get better rate. So they're still, in talking to a couple of businesses that use the border, they were concerned about how they were going to manage, because it was sort of unknown. So what the Border Mayors Alliance have, and we're just there to sort of learn from each other and share ideas and provide some sort of support, working together, supporting each other, looking at how we can support businesses in our town and in Canada. There's a kind of a lack of trust. We know that because it's very unsure and things are changing daily. So we want to be able to do things that are positive and help each other and work together. So I think that this Border Alliance group will probably meet every once in a while. We don't make decisions. We don't do anything that references any one of our communities. We're just suggesting that we continue to talk to other people, possibly people that are in the United States, because we share so much. And so I will continue to go to those meetings and listen and take notes and report back. There were quite a few of us, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 communities from BC that were on there. Included in that, or added, was the mayor of Whitehorse. And that was interesting. He had quite an interesting perspective on things because he's very close to Alaska. And they share a lot of things back and forth. So he was interested in listening what was going on. So supporting Canadian jobs, looking at how we can sort of work together. And of course, we have always in Osoyoos said we support local businesses, and we will continue to do that as much as possible. And so we're hoping that that the fact that the premiers are all in Washington today might bring some more support to Canada and that they can work things out. But we have no idea because it changes quite often. So I also met last week with MLA Donegal Wilson. She and I had quite a chat for about an hour. I did say to her that I was certainly would like her to come to a council meeting where she could talk to all of council and we could ask her questions and she could find out what our concerns were. But I know that that both Councillor Poderica, who was at one meeting and I was at another, neither of us knew about that till the last minute, but we wanted to make sure that she understood our concerns with infrastructure and water and the fact that we're a resort municipality. So those were some of the things that we brought up. And she promises that she will come back and speak to us after she gets settled in Victoria. I think she has to go and start her job there too. And when she comes back, she will make an arrangement to come to Town Hall. I also, with the CAO, met the RCMP, Sergeant Beta from here, Sergeant McCandy, or Superintendent McCandy, and Sergeant Pollock, and we had quite a meeting about what the RCMP can do for Osoyoos, how we work together. And one of the things that they brought up was that border crossings, because I said, how are you involved with the border crossings right now? And the RCMP did say that there is a Black Hawk helicopter that you will see that is been already monitoring the border crossing, because the RDOS, just our area, has 81 kilometers of border. And certainly there's an American Black Hawk helicopter, I think, that's down south. There certainly are ones from here. And actually, Global News phoned me today to say, we heard that there's a Black Hawk helicopter supervising the border in Osoyoos. What's going on? So I said, well, you know what? That's been in play for a while. And the RCMP are looking after that, and they've been monitoring the border crossing for quite a while, so it's not something new. So that was that one. So we enjoy having a meeting with Superintendent McCandy and Sergeant Beta once a year for sure, just to go over what the issues are. The Okanagan Basin Water Board, which I'm a director on, is in the process of hiring a new CAO, executive director, and the executive director that is there, Anna Warwick-Sears, has been there since 2007, so she's done a great job, and we're looking at hiring a new one. So I will be helping with that this week, next week. And they've also written a letter, the OBWB, to Minister Neal, who is in charge of water. And there is a letter that has been sent, and we were all included on that, to make sure that we look after zebra quagga mussels as best we can. And we have several different options on how we should prevent the entrance of zebra quagga mussels into our lake system. So that was another one. I've been at regional district meetings over the last couple of weeks as well. We're talking about budget, and of course, the CAO and the CFO came to our meeting this morning. So that is my report, and I will now look to moving into the in-camera section, that pursuant to section 91 of the Community Charter, a part of a council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to one or more of the following. Section 91C, labor relations or other employee relations. Could I have a, yes, move that Councillor Poderica, seconded Councillor King, all in favor?